Bihari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Janavallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Braj Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braj Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Kunj Bihari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Braj Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braj Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman Jaya Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda ki jai, Shri Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai, Shri Shri Gauranitai ki jai. So this morning we are having a special marathon lead-up class, and we'll be reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, chapter 7, text 25. Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda ki jai, Shri Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai, Shri Shri Gauranitai ki jai. So the devotees could kindly repeat after me. Uchalila prema vanya chodike vedaya Stri vridha balak yuva sabare dubaya Uchalila prema vanya chodike vedaya Stri vridha balak yuva sabare dubaya Uchalila prema vanya chodike vedaya Stri vridha balak yuva sabare dubaya Prabhus Ladies, Jai, very beautifully sung. If the devotees could repeat after me. Uchalila became agitated. Prema Vanya, the inundation of love of Godhead. chodike, in all directions, vedaya, surrounding, stri, women, vridha, old men, balaka, children, yuva, young men, sabare, all of them, dubaya, merged into. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation. The flood of love of Godhead swelled in all directions, and thus young men, old men, women, and children were all immersed in that inundation. Purport. When the contents of the storehouse of love of Godhead is thus distributed, there is a powerful inundation that covers the entire land. In Sridham Mayapur, there is sometimes a great flood after the rainy season. This is an indication that from the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya, the inundation of love of Godhead should be spread all over the world. For this will help everyone, including old men, young men, women, and children. The Krishna consciousness movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is so powerful that it can inundate the entire world and interest all classes of men in the subject of love of Godhead. And now let us beg for the mercy of our acharyas in the Lord and His intimate followers, His associates, that we can share something today that will hopefully inspire us as we plan and prepare our consciousness for the Prabhupada Marathon, which begins on Thursday. Om Gyan Timirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I beg for the blessings of all the assembled devotees who are so kindly giving me this opportunity to share something for my own purification ahead of the most magical month of the year, that is the Prabhupada Marathon. So let's see what we can churn and how we can inspire each other and encourage one another in our family business. So let's read the translation once again. The flood of love of Godhead swelled in all directions. And thus, young men, old men, women, and children were all immersed in that inundation. It's quite a beautiful verse, very nectarian. There's lots to share. This chapter itself, Lord Chaitanya in 5 features, is very special. At the beginning of this chapter, we hear about how Krishna, when he came 5,000 years ago, he brought with him this storehouse of love of Godhead, full of so much treasure, the greatest wealth. But when he brought it with him, it was sealed. So Krishna appeared again 500 years ago with his associates, the Panchatattva. They plundered this storehouse. It's quite a strong word, isn't it? Plundered. They completely broke it open and left nothing there. They completely spread it everywhere. They plundered this storehouse of love of Godhead and they distributed it, the contents, in all directions. They didn't care where was a good fit or unfit place to distribute. They didn't care who was a fit or unfit person to receive the mercy that was contained in this storehouse. It is described that Lord Nityananda, the right-hand man of Lord Chaitanya, he is intoxicated with love of Godhead. So much intoxicated with thoughts of Gauranga, so much overwhelmed by love for Mahaprabhu that he's blind. This intoxication blinds him, so he can't see who's fit and who's unfit. So he distributes the mercy everywhere. And in this way, this flood of love of Godhead that is coming out of Mayapur is capturing everybody. No one is escaping. Young men, old men, women, children, everyone is being completely drowned by this flood. Previously in this chapter speaks about, the next verse rather. The Krishna consciousness movement will inundate the entire world and drown everyone, whether one be a gentleman, a rogue, or even lame, invalid, or blind. So no matter who you are, you've got no chance against Lord Chaitanya. Tribhuvannath Prabhu famously said, don't think you've got a better idea than Lord Chaitanya. There's no escaping. It's game over. One time I was on the train. Well, I'm on the train often, but one time I was heading to work. I got on at North Harrow, and then I was chanting. And then I've got a very funky bead bag. It's a green bead bag. You can't miss it. It's very out there, and it's got cows all over it. So if someone's never seen a bead bag before, they're a bit like, whoa, what's going on here? So I had this bead bag in my hand, this finger wagging here and there, and I was muttering to myself. And someone laughed at me. They're like, what's this guy doing? Like, what is that? They started laughing, and then in my head I started laughing back, and I think, it's so funny because you think that the same thing isn't going to happen to you. Sooner or later, you're going to be in the same position as me. You're going to be having your hand on a bead bag, boarding this same train, wagging your finger, and muttering this divine mantra. Don't think it's not going to happen to you. Sooner or later, this man will also be captured. This verse is very special, the one, number 26, the one after the verse of the day. Whether one be a gentleman or rogue or even lame, invalid or blind. I read this verse as a meditation the night before I went out on Sankirtan one day, and lo and behold, I met a blind woman, and she took some books. I thought that was very special. There's no disqualification for taking Prabhupada's books. Blind woman took a book. One time in Liverpool, I met a murderer. He told me he just got out of prison, and I was standing just a few feet away from the place where he killed someone. He goes, shall I show you my machete? I was like, no, just take this book. He took an Ishopanishad, and he made a nice donation. So who is escaping this mercy? No one. No one is escaping. This mercy isn't contained in the place where it's distributed. The other day, I was fortunate to be in Liverpool Street, and I met this man from Bermuda. I can't afford to go to Bermuda, but he was on his way, and he took with him a nice copy of Prabhupada's books. So in this way, no place or no person is escaping the mercy. It's a very, very special adventure to be a part of, isn't it? Actually, when we go out on Sankirtan, it's Sankirtan Leela. These are Krishna's pastimes. Dhamma Krishna Goswami, he shares how this Sankirtan Leela is like a drama. Lord Krishna is writing the play, and the ink is our desire. If we desire to deliver the fallen conditioned souls, then Lord Krishna can keep writing. He's not going to force us to go out. He wants us to lovingly go out. And if we lovingly go out and provide some ink for this Sankirtan Leela, then his reciprocation is incredible. There's just no knowing what unpredictable adventures will transpire on the streets. So this Sankirtan Leela is like a drama. Krishna is writing this play, and the acharyas, they're watching. Because this is their innermost desire, that these books go out, that people become completely captured by this mercy. Goswami Maharaj, he says that when we distribute a book, the acharyas, they get up and they give us a standing ovation and they applaud. So Krishna is watching us, Lord Gauranga is by our side, the acharyas are applauding, and we're the main character, we're the protagonist in this Sankirtan Leela. But it gets even more special than that. Even though Krishna has engaged us and he's put us right in the thick of it, he's put us right in the middle of this pastime, we're also watching him as well. So we're the main character, we're doing whatever he wants, we're his instrument, but at the same time, we're watching him distribute the books too. Because a book goes out and you think, oh, that wasn't me. I had no idea how that happened. It was the most magical thing I've ever seen, but it can't have been me. How is it me? And then you get to see Krishna face to face. They say, if you don't want to be captured by Krishna, if you don't want to be attracted, if you don't want to give up your attachment to your family, to your work, to whatever material things we have in this life, don't go to Vrindavan, because there Krishna will capture you. And similarly, don't go out on Sankirtan if you want to give up your attachment to this. If you don't want to give up your attachment to this world, don't go out on Sankirtan, because on Sankirtan, sooner or later you're going to meet Krishna, because he's very much there orchestrating something very, very special. I remember one time I was in Croydon, and something very special transpired, and you just know that it had nothing to do with me, and this is where you get to see Krishna face to face. There was this one lady who I stopped, and she goes, oh, I had a Bhagavad Gita in my hand. She said, oh, it's very funny that you're stopping me today, because just 2 days ago I was watching a movie with a friend of mine. We were sat there in her home on the couch watching the television, and then on the movie set in the background I saw a bookshelf, and on this bookshelf I saw this book, the Bhagavad Gita. And she said, in that moment, I don't know why, but something compelled me to shout, oh look, it's a Bhagavad Gita. And I told my friend. And she said, it's funny, I don't know what drove me to shout that, because before that moment I hadn't even heard of the Bhagavad Gita. I didn't even know what it was. But there and then somehow I recognized that on that shelf that book was there. And I exclaimed to my friend, oh look, that's that book. And then 2 days later, you're handing me this book. Naturally, she took it. Obviously, I had nothing to do with that. I was just there. So simply by this desire to go out and share transcendental knowledge with others, miracles happen. Keshava Maharaj says that Mahaprabhu's movement is a movement of miracles. And we get to see that whenever we go out on the streets. It's a very, very special thing. Would you guys like to hear another Sankirtan story? This one, I heard His Holiness Gautam Swami say, and Chandramoli Maharaj also repeated it, and it's the most special thing I've ever heard in my life. So there was this one devotee in Belgium, and this is many, many years ago, one devotee in Belgium, and he had a box of books in his hands, and he was running from the police. So the police was chasing him, and somehow that devotee was running, and then he found this door. He looked behind him, the police wasn't there, so he darted inside that door. Inside the door was a tunnel. At the end of the tunnel was a light. He ran down, and somehow he found himself on a stage. And the MC of the event said, "Oh, look, and here's the man with all the prizes." And then the devotee gave him that box of books. The man took the lid off and started handing out these small books to all the people that were in the audience. All the books got distributed, and then the MC said to the devotee, "Okay, so how much do we owe you? What's the bill?" And then the devotee wrote out the bill. And that place, believe it or not, happened to be a conference for butchers. Such is the mysticism, the magic, the miracles that are available to us in the Sankirtan movement. No one is escaping. No one is escaping. Later in this chapter, or somewhere in this chapter, we see how Mahaprabhu is sending this flood. And then he's also thinking, actually, there are a few people who are somehow managing to escape, the Mayavadis. So Mahaprabhu takes sannyas. And then in this way, he captures them as well. So even if we think that for some reason, that person's not going to get the mercy, this person is evading it. Oh, I missed that person. No. Mahaprabhu's got a plan for them. It is said that those who don't take the books today, they will take the book tomorrow. Those that are taking the books today, perhaps they've refused a book distributor in the past. So we're all working together. We're all Sankirtan devotees in this movement, whether we're on the streets, on the front line, or supporting from the temple or from wherever. We're all contributing to providing a good impression to all the people of this world, and that builds up lots of sukriti, and sooner or later, it's game over. Mahaprabhu's going to capture them. And they'll be here in this audience. They'll be here at Japa, by Mangalarti Sweets. I love Mangalarti Sweets, so let's speak about them for a bit. I was thinking the other day that there's a cost of living crisis in this world. Everything's going up in price. It's a very precarious situation outside this temple. You step out, it's a very, very dangerous world we live in. But proof that the manor is completely transcendental is that for so many years, Mangalarti Sweets remain £1. So this place is incredibly special. It's not of this world. It is described that Mayapur is the epicenter of this flood. And the manor is none other than an embassy of Mayapur. And from this epicenter, a massive wave is coming. The 1st of December. The magic's gonna be there. Harry Potter, he's gonna go out of business. It's gonna be a very, very special time of year. It's gonna happen very naturally, whether we're a part of it or not. But if we want to be a part of Krishna's pastimes and conquer the heart of Lord Gauranga, then we should make a little bit of an effort and get out there. Later on in the CC, there's a beautiful conversation between Mahaprabhu and Haridas Thakur. Such a beautiful conversation. Lord Chaitanya is speaking with Namacharya, and he says, how are all these yavanas going to be delivered? How are all these fallen conditioned souls going to gain some respite from this material world? How's it going to happen? Haridas Thakur is consoling him. Haridas kahe Prabhu chintana koriya yavanir samsar dekhi dukhna bhaviha. Haridas kahe Prabhu. Haridas is saying to the Lord, Chinta na kariyo, don't worry. Yavanera samsara dekhi, seeing the fallen conditions of all these yavanas, all these people who are completely practicing a life against Vedic culture, dukkana bhaviya, don't be in unhappiness. And then Haridas Thakur goes on to explain the glory of the holy name. how the holy name is so glorious that it's just hidden almost in every nook and cranny of this universe. And just a slight exposure to this holy name will cause someone to become a devotee. For example, I used to have driving lessons with this guy called David. David may be a devotee now, who knows? Because you know what he used to say to me? Don't be in a hurry. He always used to chant the name of Hari. Don't be in a hurry. And I used to be very happy when he used to say that. And I'm sure, this was almost 10 years ago, and I'm sure time and time again, he's been saying to his students, don't be in a hurry. And I pray that all of his students are driving fast so he can time and time again repeat the name of Hari. So like this, Mahaprabhu has invested so much potency in the holy name that even if you're slightly exposed to it, just a glimmer of the holy name, you will gain some transcendental benefit, and sooner or later you'll become captured. So what are these books? Prabhupada said, these books are literary kirtan. Every word is essentially Krishna, glorification of Krishna. This is Sankirtan. This is the complete glorification of Krishna. Prabhupada said that our left arm and right arm, Harinam and book distribution, both work side by side, and in this way we're able to distribute Krishna consciousness, spread it all over the world, just like Mahaprabhu wanted. But once we feel inspired, once we feel like, yes, this marathon, I want to go out there and be a part of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. This marathon, I want to reassure Lord Chaitanya and relieve him of his anxiety following the footsteps of Haridas Thakur. We make that decision to go out there. How do these books even go out? It's not a case of mundane salesmanship. It's a complete opposite. One time in Austria, they asked a top salesman, a non-devotee, someone who was in demand by some of the biggest companies in the world. They asked him, can you go and sell these books to the bookstores? And they gave him 6 months. He's one of the top salesmen in the country. Guess how many books he distributed? That's right. He didn't do any books at all in 6 months. Yet a new devotee can distribute hundreds of books each week. Why? Because it's never about technique. It's never about tactic, strategy. Let's choose this one, let's choose that one, or this person. Let's make a nice presentation. Yes, all these things are great, and they have their space. But all they do is they package the substance, and the substance is desire and prayer. We have to sincerely desire to get these books out. We have to be convinced, like Prahlad Maharaj, that there is no other way to become happy but by practicing Krishna consciousness. Prahlad Maharaj in the 7th canto, he speaks about how he doesn't want to be like these saintly persons who crawl away to the Himalayas and just meditate there, forgetting the other people in this world who have no hope. He says, I'd rather stay in the towns and cities and try and preach to those who have lost their way. These people who are actually our long-lost brothers and sisters. We are all servants and sons and daughters of the Lord. Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda ki jai. Shri Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai. Shri Shri Gaurnitai ki jai. So we don't want to be keeping this Krishna consciousness to ourselves. When something is valuable in the material world, we hide it. We keep it to ourselves and we think, if someone else takes this away from me, I'm not going to appreciate that. I'm going to miss out. But as a devotee, as a spiritualist, as a member of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement, as someone who's inheriting our family business of book distribution, we're thinking, I've got to share this next with others. Just think. So I got here at 7:30 today, and half the world is asleep before 7:30. But you guys who were here since 4:30, before the whole world has woken up, you've had more enjoyment, more nectar, more bliss, more happiness than most people in the mature world will ever experience in their entire life. And that's in 3 hours before they've even woken up. That's something very special. We have the most beautiful deities in the world, Radha Gokulananda. We have the best cows in the world. We have the most beautiful Mongol sweets. We have the best philosophy. We have the best dance moves. Nothing can beat the Swami step. Even if you watch Strictly Come Dancing for 10 years in a row, nothing will be more beautiful, more sublime, more enjoyable, more relishable than whatever we do here during Guru Puja. Everything that we could ever want is here at the manor. We are the most fortunate people in the entire world. How can we keep this to ourselves? Actually a bit silly. We can't. There's so many people out there who are yet to come in contact with this movement in a gross way. We can't have that. How can we sit on this mercy? How can we become so miserly that we just keep it to ourselves? Dhamma Krishna Maharaj said something nice once in a class. He said, we shouldn't give these fallen conditioned souls any excuse. When the time comes for them to leave this world and Yamaraj comes, they shouldn't be able to say, oh, I had no idea about this Krishna consciousness. They shouldn't be able to say, oh no, I didn't know about the devotees. I didn't know that there was such a thing as Krishna consciousness. Otherwise I would have joined. We can't let them have that excuse. And it's our responsibility, because we haven't received any of this mercy because of any good qualification. It's all Prabhupada's mercy. Prabhupada created our good fortune. That's what he said to his disciples. I created your good fortune. And in this way, because his disciples carried on his mission, and because they didn't keep the mercy to themselves, we're also now fortunate to be able to sing and dance and feast like residents of the spiritual world. Jayananda Prabhu, he says, if we can all just become a little bit dedicated to distributing the mercy, so many people could be saved from so much suffering. It just requires us all to team together, team up, and take this marathon seriously. If we've got other commitments, that's okay. Don't have to go out every day if it's not possible. But at least do something. 1 day, 2 days. I think the Manor has this beautiful initiative. We want at least 300 devotees to contribute at least 16 hours over this month. I think that's doable. 16 hours across 24 days. And what do we gain from that? We get to be a part of Krishna's pastimes. We get to experience more mercy, more magic. We get to be on the cutting edge. Our spiritual life really comes to life when we share it with other people. Imagine how much conviction and faith you develop when you go out there and you see a book fly out of your hands that you had nothing to do with, and you know, oh my God, that was Krishna. That's an incredible experience, and that's available to all of us. So let's just go out there and make magic happen. It's left up to us now. It's left up to us. It's our family business. We just got to go out there and do it. When we join this movement, it is described that we all are gifted this nectar cup, this cup of nectar. It's very small in the beginning. So what we do with that cup is we attend a morning program, we go to these other programs, we read Prabhupada's books, we connect with the devotees, and we fill that cup up with nectar. And when we get that nectar, we drink it. And then we fill it up with some more nectar and we drink it. But the moment we start to use our cup, collect nectar and distribute it and give it out to others, that's when that cup grows in size, which means we can collect more nectar and drink more nectar. And if we just distribute it even more, then our cup grows even further. And by the end of our Krishna conscious lives, we've not got cups of nectar, we're bathing in vessels of nectar. Just thinking if we distribute that, we'll have even more to enjoy and relish. And that is the spirit of this Sankirtan movement, where we're blessed by so much good fortune. We don't have enough hands to keep it to ourselves. Let's share it a little bit with others, and in that way, our good fortune will increase exponentially. So let's do what we can and share our good fortune with others. This is the family business. We can go out on the streets, find our own way of presenting these books. It will come very naturally as long as we have a sincere desire to share this mercy with others and know that there's nothing more dear to the Lord than one. There's no one more dear to the Lord than one who shares this Krishna consciousness with others. And at the same time, we beg for the Lord's mercy and we pray. If we're prayerful throughout this Sankirtan Leela, then Krishna will feel obliged to descend. He descended for Advaita Acharya because Advaita Acharya had a sincere desire, compassion to deliver the fallen conditioned souls. We're not Advaita Acharya, but we can follow in his footsteps, and with whatever desire we can muster, we can compassionately pray, and Krishna will also descend and make these books fly. Desire and prayer, though that's the secret to Sankirtan success. So let's go out there and distribute these books. We've got a little bit of time, so why don't we have some discussion or some questions or corrections. We've got lots of senior devotees in this assembly. So if there's anything that the devotees want to share or express regarding what we discussed, then let us hear that. I think Mataji over here has got her hand raised. I think the mic is just coming.
Thank you so much. That was so nice to hear this book, like just faith and trust in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This might not be directly related to this month and book distribution, but something you said kind of inspired me because I'm a filmmaker, and I've wanted to make films that are able to have that impact, because that's an easy way to deliver it right to people's homes. These, Prabhupada's gifts. So, do you have any brainstorm or comments on that? Because
Any what? Sorry.
Ideas like brainstorming sort of thing, like how that's gonna work. How can that happen? How can we make that happen?
How we can how films can spread the mercy and capture people.
Yeah.
The first thing that comes to mind is Yadavar Prabhu and Mother Vishaka's film, the Hare Krishna movie. And just yesterday on Instagram, I saw that in I think in the Atma Lounge in Cardiff, they're showing that film, and they're inviting people to come and watch that film. And in this way, I'm sure they'll be captured. That film is extremely special. You're bang on the money. That film captures Prabhupada's movement, Prabhupada's personality and his mission in such a way that everyone can become attracted. And yeah, some people on the streets, they say to us, "Oh, I don't read." And the books, they go out anyway, and people do eventually read them, because these books, they're transcendental, they're not like normal books, so they do get read eventually. But yes, Prabhupada wanted that through all mediums. We should be distributing this mercy. So if you're a filmmaker, then absolutely. Maybe you can speak with Mother Vishaka and say, "Hey, look, this is my idea, this is my desire. Let's make something. Let's get it out there." Because this film was out in cinemas. I went to watch it. When it came out, I was staying here at the Manor, and the Brahmacharis, Ms. Kinchan remembers, we all did a little trip to the Wembley cinema, and we all watched it. So yeah, it's a very, very big deal. Let's get this mercy out in whatever means we can, whatever means that is at our disposal in whatever way we feel comfortable and inspired to do. And that film will also distribute books because it all comes down to the book. So absolutely, no, let's go for it. I think that's a very nice idea. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Amazing how much you've grown up. Sorry, I don't want to embarrass you, but so isn't it interesting? You know, it takes. We know that there's suffering. There's always suffering in material existence, but it takes a soul to petition on behalf of the conditioned soul, the suffering soul, to reach Krishna. I mean, Krishna is cognizant. He's fully conscious of everything that is going on. But yet, he doesn't do anything. But he does it through his devotees. It's interesting, isn't it? He doesn't do anything. They're suffering, but Krishna has got to relieve it until someone petition on behalf of the fallen souls or the suffering souls. Like she had Charya, Mother Bhumi had to petition her to go and say, look, just to relieve the suffering of the earth. And then Krishna intervenes. Do you have anything to share on that? Why this is so? Anything to share?
What one verse comes to mind actually? It's a really nice concept you're sharing. At the last verse in this chapter, chapter 7, let's see if we can find it. So in the purport, Prabhupada says, I'll read the whole thing, we got a little time. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to preach the Sankirtan movement of love of Krishna throughout the entire world. And therefore, during his presence, he inspired the Sankirtan movement. Specifically, he sent Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami to Vrindavan and Nityananda to Bengal and personally went to South India. This is the bit. In this way, he kindly left the task of preaching his cult in the rest of the world to the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So I thought that was nice. Like, the Lord can do anything. He could do it all himself, but he wants to engage us in that. And when he engages us in that, he allows us to become close to him, because that is our sadhana too. To distribute books, to distribute the holy name, to preach, it's also our sadhana. It's also how we develop that relationship with him. And when we do that, he's giving us the opportunity to conquer his heart. In the purport to that verse, where Haridas Thakur is consoling the Lord, do not be in anxiety. Prabhupada says that it is a responsibility of the devotee to also reassure the Lord, to also relieve the Lord of his anxiety. So that is our relationship with the Lord, because the Lord isn't just a man with a beard sitting on a throne just doing, you do this, you do that, you do this, you do that. He wants to engage us. And in this Sankirtan Leela, Lord Chaitanya is there with us and we're working side by side like a tag team. And it's more relishable for him and for us when we're doing it together. And in this way, we become purified also. When we have a mission, when we have a purpose, when we're thinking about the suffering of others. When we're on Sankirtan, we develop so many good qualities that are essential for our Krishna conscious advancement that we think, how can I go back to Godhead without doing some Sankirtan? Because our responsibility here is to chant Hare Krishna, not just that, but to also teach others. Prabhupada says, 16 rounds, 4 regs, I guarantee it, and guarantee it, go back to Godhead. But in order to chant 16 rounds properly and follow the 4 regs properly, we have to move away from a life of selfishness, and we develop selflessness when we perform the Sankirtan Leela side by side with Lord Chaitanya.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you for your question.
Nice response. If I may add,
No,
to
please.
That, can I? I also feel that the Lord gets great pleasure in glorifying the devotees, in acting, in helping to save others. So I suppose it's very relishable for the Lord because he glorifies his devotees.
Absolutely.
In that endeavor. So that glorification must mean imagine it means a lot to the Lord.
Yeah, no, that's bang on. And when we distribute these books, we give people's Prabhupada association, and Prabhupada is glorified even further. Ebe Yash Goshuk Tribhuvana, throughout the three worlds. So, no, this is a very, very special Sankirtan leader that we get to be a part of. Thank you, Saras Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for such an inspiring class. So this morning I was actually reading the page open up there, Bhagavad Gita, and it said that if one engages himself in helping the missionary activities of Krishna consciousness, then he, can you hear me? Then he gradually feels advancement in his spiritual life. So I wanted to ask if you can share any examples of how consistently going out on book distribution has influenced your sadhana.
Habits, what, sorry?
How it's influenced your sadhana.
My sadhana? Yeah, on the days that I go out, in the morning I'm like, oh my God, I need to stock up. And my best rounds happen on the morning before going out, because you know that you can't do it by yourself. You require desire and a prayerful mood to preach, and that desire is cultivated when you chant good rounds. When you're part of the morning program. And in the morning program, your mood should be, let me collect mercy. Like, let me really appreciate the sense. It's just beautiful, isn't it? Let me go out of my way to, why don't I go and get the lamp and serve all the devotees? Why don't I jump really, really high? Why don't I just really give myself to this morning program? Because I need to collect as much mercy as possible, because this sadhana is what is going to distribute these books, because by this sadhana I develop that strong desire. Because if we don't have that sadhana, then our intelligence is weakened and the cold sets in, or the tiredness, or the backache, or the rejection gets a bit too much. But if the sadhana is there, then it's like, oh, well, let's just push on. Let's just do it. And Prabhupada would ask, how do we distribute more books? And Prabhupada said, complete all your 16 rounds in one go before going out. And I also heard that His Holiness Kadamba Gandhana Swami was once asked before he went out, how many rounds have you chanted? Maharaj said 15. And the response came back, you'll never become a Sankirtan devotee. You have to chant all 16 rounds before you go out. So in this way, yeah, we feel like dependent on this sadhana. So we have no choice but to chant. And then it's not, then if we make sadhana a part of our, if we make Sankirtan a part of our life, then our activities become twofold: Sankirtan and preparing for Sankirtan. And when we're preparing for Sankirtan, then then that time is also about intensely chanting, because we know that it's not just enough to chant on the morning of Sankirtan, but throughout the week, or whenever you can, because you need as much mercy as you can get to distribute as much mercy as possible. Thank you for your question.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you so
Hare
much
Krishna.
for the class. You were mentioning throughout the class about how we should be prayerful during Sankirtan, and I was wondering if you can just elaborate more on that. Like practically, how can we be prayerful? Do you have any meditations in mind, especially during book distribution as well? Because you're mentioning in the previous ones, in the morning in our sadhana, that's when we can be prayerful. But maybe during the actual Sankirtan, how can one be prayerful? And is there anything that you do that you find really helps?
Absolutely. Actually, this is something that I learned from Her Grace Guru Shakti Mataji. I don't know if you want to answer that at all, about being prayerful on Sankirtan. Okay. So before going out, before starting, or when you hit the streets, I normally turn the book over and there's a picture of Prabhupada, and take some time to pray to Srila Prabhupada and beg him for mercy, and to remind me that it's not me, remind me not to get proud if the books go out, and just beg to be an instrument of his mercy. And whenever I feel like my desire isn't strong enough and the books aren't going out, and my ego is getting in the way, I take some time and I move away from the devotees. And this is like a game changer prayer. If you chant the Jaladutta prayers, Prabhupada's prayers when he arrived in America, where he prays to the Lord and he says, you must have some business here, otherwise why would you have brought me? And he begs to be a puppet in the hands of the Lord. And he confesses that he has no devotion. That prayer isn't really for Prabhupada, because of course he has devotion. That prayer is for us to repeat at times like this. And we beg, make me dance, make me dance, make me dance as you like. And with that kind of realigns our consciousness. Oh, I'm not dancing for myself to get a book score or to exploit people and sell books and gain a high Lakshmi score. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to dance to the tune, to the flute playing of Gokulananda, so I can bring people to him. And also, what's nice to do is when you give someone a book, so you've got to put the book in their hands. They touch the book, they're benefited. And Guru Shakti Mataji taught me to ask them to read the blurb. You read the blurb of the book, and at that time, while they're reading, it's a beautiful opportunity for us to pray. They're reading, you don't just sit there waiting for them to finish. You beg the Lord, my dear Lord, please allow this person to take this book. Please allow this person to come in contact with your pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada. Please allow this end to their suffering to happen. I just want to be your instrument. By your mercy, it can happen. And please allow me to say whatever needs to be said. Speak through me. Let me be your instrument. Let me be your mouthpiece. And by that time, they should have finished reading. And then you ask them, so, what do you think? And then the conversation continues, and hopefully they take the book. And if they don't, you understand that it was never meant to be because you prayed. You invited Krishna to be involved. There's no need to be attached to the result. And you prayerfully find the next person. So on Sankirtan, you're either talking to the person in front of you or you're praying. Sankirtan has to be prayerful. Otherwise, it's just due and it becomes salesmanship. And we learned that that guy in Austria couldn't sell any books. The reason why? Because he didn't pray. Thank you for your question, Harsh Prabhu. Harsh Prabhu is actually a very dedicated Sankirtan devotee. It's really good to have you here. I think Mataji had another question? Or no? Okay, cool. So thank you all so very much for being here this morning. I'm really grateful to you all for your kind time and attention, and thank you for the questions and discussion points. And let us do something for Srila Prabhupada this marathon. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada's transcendental book distribution ki jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Face up, bro. So Guru Maharaj's mercy. This is very much his thing, isn't it? What was repeated